Welcome everybody, welcome to the Fish Tank. My name is BadasFish80 and we have a tournament grand final for you today. This is 1v1 number 20. We've got Jackk coming through from the winners bracket versus Deadshot. This time coming through from the redemption bracket. And I am not on my own today. We have with us Mr. DeathShootOneyOoney. Welcome, DeathShootOneyOoney.
Hello. Hello, everyone out there.
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very fine. I'm excited about the incredible matches I'm about to watch and comment on.
Nice. Okay, so unusual to see Deadshot in the final coming through from the redemption bracket. Normally he's there from the winners bracket, but that's the beauty of the dual elimination setup. So he gets that second life. What do you think about that?
True. I mean, as you mentioned, Deathshot is most people would probably expect him to come from the winner brackets, but it also does go to show that in this game nothing is decided. So sometimes a misplay can just doom you a match, and sometimes an awesome play can win you the game. So that's also one of the reasons why you should never give up, even if you sometimes feel the opponent might be stronger or have a better hand, as per se.
Yeah, especially with the really good players that we get to watch in these tournaments, there's very little between them. So just a slight misplay or a bit of luck can just swing a game from one side to the other.
Very true. Missing a bridge for around 30 seconds could give your opponent enough experience to do what he needs before you can do what you need.
Indeed. Okay, so because Jack's coming through from the winners bracket, that means he hasn't lost a match yet, and that means that he's going to have a second life. So if Jackk wins this best of 5, then we'll have a reset. Sorry, if Deadshot wins this best of 5, then we'll have a reset because Jackk will use his second life. So we could potentially see a double best of 5 here. And we have definitely experienced that a lot of times in these tournaments, and that's very exciting to see. Do you think it changes the way someone's going to set up in a game knowing they've got that second life in a final?
Well, it could definitely change it. For example, if you consider that there is no need to know the opponent's decks beforehand, they could very well try to use their first life to scout some of the decks and then change their ban. Because if I'm not mistaken, once they do the second match, were Jackk to lose this one, they have an opportunity to redo the bans, right?
That's correct, yeah. You can use that information you've gained from the first best of 5 and maybe change... as you say, change your bans. Speaking of bans, the players can ban 2 masters. So Jack's banned Mordar and Setsu, and Deadshot has banned Mordar and Apep. Is that what you expect to see around here?
Well, Mordar, it's definitely very strong. So both players banning Mordar, it's something that I would say it's within margin of expected. Setsu ban, it's quite interesting because it's a very aggressive master. So if you consider that if you consider that Mordar, it's a more passive late game master, Setsu would be the opposite. Most of the time, Setsu is an aggressive master. So banning one passive and one aggressive master. On the other hand, that should banning Apep and Mordar, I would say, would be considered some of the S tier or best top tier 1v1 masters in the game. So following the pattern, the rule.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the players just ban the masters they think are just the strongest rather than targeting the ban specifically against who they're playing. Because, you know, these players play each other a lot and they know the kind of the decks and the kind of masters that they like. But as you say, Mordor and Apep, arguably the 2 strongest masters, Deadshot just banning those straight out, whereas Jack's allowing Apep to be played. Could be interesting to see how that happens.
Exactly.
Right.
And that does give margin for players to then play their mind games like, okay, so if I ban this, what is he going to play? What is the master going to be? Can I counter that? Can I not counter that? We are about to find out, no?
Yeah, and you know, sometimes they, based on what they're going to play, they ban what they think is going to be strong against them. So it might not be a strong thing overall, but if they know that their deck is specifically weak against something, then they might choose to ban that rather than banning what you would normally just ban based on just the general master strengths and the meta at the moment.
All valid strategies.
Okay, so we will be using dual deck technology here, pioneered originally by Shinobi. Big shout out to Beta Dwarf for supporting these tournaments. As always, we do a 1v1 and a 2v2 tournament here in the Fish Tank every month. So if you want to get involved, make sure you do. They are play over time events, so you get 3 days to complete each of your games. Very easy to get involved, very convenient, lots of fun. Doesn't matter about what kind of level you're in. You can learn a lot. You can make friends, learn some decks and some strategies, and just all about supporting the community and being part of this awesome community. So I'm going to try and get game number 1 ready to go. Defogo needs to try to get his game at the same time as us. The only thing I need to do is something that I forgot to do, is I nearly spectated the same person twice. Definitely didn't do that last time. And then try to figure out for a while their hands were the same. Okay, so what we're going to do is... Okay, we're going to pause this here. Okay, this takes... if we were watching this live, it's a lot easier to do. But we're not. So be it. Okay, so the first game, assuming that we both have the correct game, I've got Jackk playing Valorian and Deadshot playing Ratbow. Does that look right to you?
Yep.
Okay, so that's a good start. Okay, so this is our main game here. Right, so what we need to do is just push this on a little bit. Just going to start this and then pause it. Oh, we've got to get the score right. Okay, that's paused. Okay, nice. Right, we'll just set up the score correctly. So remember, this is best of 5. These finals are always going to be best of 5. The tournament before the finals is best of 3, and then we switch to best of 5 for the winners bracket, the redemption bracket, and the overall final. So it looks like that's set up correctly. No, it doesn't. Okay, no, that's fine. Okay. Best of 5, that's correct. Do you think best of 5 versus best of 3 changes a lot, Defogo?
Well, in best of 3, the most you're going, if you are unlucky, you are just going to play 2 games. If you are unlucky, well, lucky I guess, you get to see 3 games. It just changed a lot from the amount of information you can get, especially if you consider the possibility of another best of 5. The more matches you play, the more you can see off your opponent's hands, right?
That's
at least
right.
your opponent's hands.
Okay, so my replay, I've loaded in. I'm at 0 seconds. Are you ready to go?
At 0 seconds?
Yeah, so I've clicked to continue and I've paused it at 0 seconds.
All right.
That's a good question. Who did put Deadshot into the redemption bracket? Let's have a look. I'm sure he can answer if he's in the chat, but if we look at the bracket, we can see that Deadshot... Yeah, that's fine, Deadshot, that's fine. Where did you get dropped from the bracket?
I do believe I know.
Okay, he got beaten by Satan Warship in winners bracket round 4. Nice, okay. Are you good to go, Defogo?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start, let's go. Right.
The only real victory for the Void is when the righteous do nothing.
Right, okay. Are we good? Looks like we might be okay.
Let's go. So what second is it for you right now?
I'm on 21 seconds.
All right.
Right, okay. So, we've got Jackk playing Valorian, Deadshot playing Ratbow, and already quite a lot of face damage coming in early doors here.
So Deadshot playing Frostfeather Flyby, which makes sense considering he is Ratbow, and Ratbow can use Frostfeather Flyby to empower his Dagger, which is the second perk.
Yep. It's a nice little trick. You can use that to come in, slow some units, remove some units, and as you say, you can power up that Dagger. Get some big damage, especially he's got the Horde, the Scrat Horde as well, so he has the opportunity to use both of those in conjunction with each other if he needs a huge removal.
A huge removal. Now, is Jackk gonna play those units that warrant a big removal or not?
As you were saying earlier, the Valorian tends to have decks stacked with, you know, medium mana units, so potentially in this situation, there's not going to be some great Dakka targets. The Soul Stealer is going to be a nice one.
Ooh, yeah. Not to mention that I was also saying before, it is Valorian, so that Soul Stealer has the possibility to heal, as we are seeing right now. He healed quite up a bit, although not enough to survive that first sniper shot.
Yeah, there's definitely occasions where the Valorian heal can save something from a spell or a couple of spells that you would expect to kill it, and then the heal pops, and it can be hugely important.
It is true. A very good example of those small heal, it can be that if you time crossbows or plasmas adequately, your units might just win a bridge fight if you consider crossbows versus crossbows. If you're gonna heal in the middle of the crossbow dudes fighting,
Yeah.
you'll win the fight and get to the bridge.
That's like we were talking about earlier, where just these small margins can change it. And you saw there was very nice flyby coming in. Remember, the flyby, when it comes in, they are units, so they can take the bridge and interact in all sorts of different ways. So Deadshot using it there to force the bridge.
Well split.
XP
Those
absolutely
five
dead equal. Okay, so Valorian's Searing Light there, that's a really strong removal, but against Ratbo it's going to be difficult for him to remove what he wants to remove, because there's going to be so many other units to take those hits. Like, you can see the sniper there surviving because the Horde was played.
Yep, and it is quite interesting to see, because so Valorian second perk, Searing Light, might be less effective versus Ratbo, because Ratbo is going to be able to spawn lots of units very quickly.
Soul Stealer surviving there. That's a mistake.
Yep, and it's going to heal again.
So the Scrutillery, if played correctly, will remove the Soul Stealer. So he's going to
Exactly, all 5 need to hit.
get some extra value out of it here. It's still alive, still getting extra face damage.
Wow. Forcing DeathShoot to play the stints to remove it. To save some face damage, yep. But yes, I was mentioning, so both second perks might actually be quite ineffective versus the opponent masters, because Searing Light will not be very good versus Ratbo with all the units Ratbo can have.
Yeah.
But Dakka will probably not be very good versus kind of medium small sized units that Valorian is using.
That's right, there's no Colossus or something like that to take huge Dakka hits. But this is the Dakka that he wants probably against the Soul Stealer. Yep. That Soul Stealer can really get powered up against all those Scrats.
Let's keep in mind, his timing was very impeccable, because the Scrutillery that Jackk played spawns Scrats, and these Scrats can be targets for the Dakka. So if the Scrutillery was some few seconds before, it would have tanked the Dakka for the Soul Stealer.
Yeah, there's a very small window between when you start the Dakka and when it actually locks on its target, so it will change target. And you know, the better players that play that, they will be able to figure out, you know, how the battlefield's going to change in that small period of time and make the Dakka hit the right thing. There you see the stint grab in the bottom bridge. Do you like the change with the stint and the new Outlander mechanic?
Very interesting. I mean, stint was already a very good bridge grab for its mana value. Now with Outlander grab, I would say stint paired up with Plasma Marines are a very good combination to have in almost any control deck.
XP still exactly the same. Okay, that's a good Dakka though on the Warrior, because that removes a lot of HP.
And it was the front line for all the push decks Jackk was trying to build.
Yep.
Ooh, we finally see a Scrutillery hitting and killing the Soul Stealer.
If the Soul Stealer is stationary, you should be able to remove it quite easily with the Scrutillery. If it's moving, then it can be a bit tricky. But there you see, the Searing Light did take out the Sniper.
Yep. If we notice before third perk, Searing Light was not killing Sniper in one hit, but now, with the empower damage that Valorian does, this also contributes to his second perk. So Searing Light is going to start doing a lot more damage.
Yeah. That's a very strong perk when it's powered up. Perk 3. Ratbo, of course, perk 3 is extra Scrats. Well, that Soul Stealer's doing some work though. It does get taken out.
By the Frost Feathers.
Yep.
Another example of how that healing was insane, because it is also empowered right now, that healing. And there goes the Sniper.
Okay. Tried to steal the bridge there. Didn't quite get it. Dakka on the... Well, just enough to kill the Assassin there. Okay, so let's look. XP is slightly in Deadshot's favour, but very, very slightly. Scrutillery comes in. Takes out its intended target.
Unbelievable. How close can this match actually get? Super
Right.
close.
See, in these scenarios, if they go to Mana Frenzy, it can just be who gets Mana Frenzy just a fraction earlier and who can just hold the bridge just a tiny bit. Because remember, if you hit Mana Frenzy just ahead and you have the bridges locked down at that position, then that extra mana you're going to get just allows you to maybe snowball the game out of control.
True. I mean, and I can barely see who would have an advantage if they both hit Mana Frenzy almost at the same time. Because from one side, Valorian units can.
Well, that's a lot of face damage coming on Jackk though, down to 345 HP. He does have the Scritillery, so he does have the potential to do some face damage. He's got the flyby as well. So he has...
Flyby is big damage.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do doubt that he's gonna just send 7 flybys to Jack's face at this moment. He probably wants at least one more push going that way, and he cannot waste spectacularly that he needs to remove that Soul Stealer.
Because once you start directing your mana towards the face, then you lose control of the battlefield, and if you end up not winning the game with that mana redirection, then you can certainly lose the game at that point. Okay, Deadshot's got a bit of an XP lead there, so he might be able to just get to Mana Frenzy first. Just to remind everyone, Deadshot came from the Redemption bracket, and Jack's here from the Winners bracket. There we go, he goes straight for face.
But yeah.
Those
At
worlds
the same time, we can notice how Deathshot is forcing Jackk to always keep a unit on the field, because if he does not keep a unit on the field, that's going to give Deathshot the window to send an aggro on face and win the game.
Mana Frenzy now for Deadshot though. He's got a bit of... He's certainly opened up a bit of an XP lead at the end here. It was very close until really near the end. And of course those extra scrats that are coming from perk 3 really help to just keep the pressure on the bridges all the time. Okay, so he's going face again. Scritillery comes in as well. This is going to be almost too much. We've got scrats on face. Just one more scrat here. There we go. Deadshot takes the first game. Okay.
Very close. Both players did so well.
Yeah, it looked like it was super close on XP until the last sort of minute of normal time. And then Deadshot was able to take that out. Okay, so Deadshot is one game.
I guess one thing
Yep,
we can consider is how both players had Scrattillerly. However, in Deathshot's case, he had a very good target, which was the Soul Stealer, and it was 5 mana by 5 mana, considering the scratch you also spawn, which can give you an extra control in the board. However, Jackk didn't really have any very decent Scrattillerly target from the other side, because for the sniper, he had the Searing Light, which is the second perk, and the other units that would be warrant some mana, which would probably be the Flightless Dragons or the Defenseless Chopper. None of those units it's good target for a Scratillery. So that probably made it more difficult for Jackk to manage his hand.
Yeah, sometimes you can find something just stuck in your hand because you don't want to use it just for the sake of using it. Of course, this game's all about mana trades, and as you say, you can end up with something stuck in your hand like that, just waiting for the perfect time to use it, and the perfect time might not happen. Okay, so that should be the next game. 8 minutes and 37 seconds. Yes. I mean, it was real close, as chat's saying. It was real close, and then Deadshot just managed to pull out some extra bridge control with those extra scrats towards the end. And then once he got to Mana Frenzy, that injection of extra mana from the XP of the bridges becoming mana was just too much. Okay, so let's set ourselves up here. For game number 2. Let me just make sure my game is set up. So,
and yes, for those in chat wondering, both players said Scratillery, and I guess that question does justify the fact that we didn't see Jackk play it there often. I do think I saw it 1 or 2. So, as said before, having a card in your hand that you are not going to use is making you be cycling 3 cards, which is not ideal, especially if both players are trying to run a match for XP, because at that point, no player could actually get any decent push or go very strongly with spells on face. So they really needed that extra XP to guarantee Mana Frenzy first for the dominance on the field.
Yeah, that's right. I see you still have the glove on your head, your fake shark fin.
Shall I add another one?
If you want to. Then they might look like bunny ears. Okay, so let's get the
no,
next.
and then I'll maybe not look like a bunny.
Bad as a bunny.
With bad as a fish.
Right, just getting this game set up. I know it's going to sound like it started, but it hasn't really started, so don't worry.
Yeah, I'm watching Duo in my screen right now.
Okay. Right, so Deadshot's won the first, 1-0. Ratbo just overcoming Valorian. Let's update our score to reflect that. It's a best of 5, first of 3. Just a reminder, Jack's come from the winner's bracket, so if he does fail in this best of 3, he does get a second life. Right. There we go. Okay. Where's my cam? There it is. Okay. Right, is your game queued up and ready to go?
Yep, at 0 seconds, duel on my screen.
Okay. I'll give the countdown. We got 3, 2, 1, and go.
All right.
Right, so
Halloween versus
Vile
Valorian.
demons beware. I bring light.
Could it be that
and
Jack is playing the
steel.
same deck? Which is
Could
something I
well
haven't very often. Like players are like, I could have won with that deck if I played better. It was those misplays at the last second that made me lose. I'll do it again. I'll prove myself and I'll prove the strength of this deck. And so they played again.
Okay, so as you say, Jack playing Valorian again, Deadshot playing Milloween. He's got his Dynasty Milloween skin. Very nice.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, the Dynasty skins are only for tournament winner players.
The Dynasty Morelia is for tournament winners. I can't remember where the Dynasty Milloween comes from. Well, the decks are backwards. Oh, damn it. Oh, hold on. They're right on my screen. Okay. We might just have to go through it and then we'll figure it out afterwards.
Well, if anything, I will keep shouting what I see in Deathshot's hands.
Okay.
Halloween. It does not look to be anything very specific, so we see some Cursed Sparrows and Skeleton Horde, which are accursed cards, but neither of them has any benefit from Cursed Ascension. So this is probably not the Cursed Ascension Halloween.
Okay, so a little XP lead for Deadshot so far. Yeah, sorry that the decks are messed up. I can try to fix it, but it might be a bit awkward. It's a perfect mirror match. Okay. I'm gonna try and fix it.
Jack probably wanted those Lost Legionnaires, and since he failed, that forced him to play the Plasma Marines.
You can just take over the full commentary for a second, just while I try and fix this.
We are watching, so that is now defending. This small little push did grant Jack a small lead in XP, but we can now see the tides turning. It's a nice Deathshot time to try to take it over. So both players firing on the bridge. We can see the bridge is yellow, which means they are neutral. So no team is generating XP. Vortex to trying to keep the golem alive on top. And the Soul Steel there just got 6 stacks coming into Deathshot's face. Is he not defending with anything? So no, Deathshot is taking that on face and then quickly killing the Soul Stealer with Plasmas and the Arcane Golem. The Arcane Golem does not deal much damage at this point because it just gets empowered by 1 stack every time Deathshot, which is Millowin, plays a spell. And there goes the Golem. So Jack is, for quite some XP, not yet 10, but quite a little XP leading the match. And there goes the bridges for Deathshoot's side again. Very close. It's very interesting to see how both players always try to make it so that no player has a very big XP lead. Because an XP lead of enough XP to make it so that you reach a perk like 10 seconds, 30 seconds before your opponent can mean a lot.
This is true. Okay, back in the game. Dex should be okay, hopefully, on the stream now. So Deadshot's taken a lot of face damage. Is that a problem for him at the moment?
Well, if we consider that Jack has to yet show us any big damaging spell, and Searing Light does not deal damage to Master or Building, I would say he can take some face damage, but it is starting to get quite dangerous, especially with these medium pushes that Jack is doing.
Yeah.
can see these Soul Stealers getting on face. They did get slow, but oh, and there's a Frostfire flyby coming from both sides. Went to kill. Ah, that did not kill the Plasma. Not that it would make much of a difference at this time, but well, on the other hand, we see another Soul Stealer popping up, so we can consider that as an extra stack for the Soul Stealer if he does manage to get it, which he did.
The Deadshot down to under 800 HP, so that's kind of concerning right now. The 5-stack Soul Stealer can do some work. Gets removed the combination of the Arcane Missiles and the Shock Rock.
Which ends up being 2 mana for 5 mana, so in that case, for those trades, DeathShoot is getting some value.
See, one important thing here that we could consider is HP is a resource, and you don't have to win the game with 3000 HP. So Deadshot may be just using his HP where necessary as a resource to help him tank on face, save some damage against his units, and trade better from that point of view. Especially if he thinks that Jackk doesn't have any direct damage ways to hurt his face.
From what we've seen now, I would say the only direct damage that Jackk has is the Frostfire flyby, which is 50 damage. So managing this resource, which is the health, it's allowing Deathshot to stay equal. In fact, he just overtook Jackk on XP. So now these golems are starting to get very big because they will not start at 0 stacks, they will start at 5 stacks.
That is true. This is where there's a huge power spike. The Searing Light's going to be good against it, removing the golem. It's going to do a lot of damage, but can Deadshot... Here we go. See, Deadshot packs it with those Skellies. Skellies take a lot of the hits. There we go. Scrutillery coming in as well. But the golem's still alive, and that's going to be a nice little push at the top with the Whirly Scrat and the golem behind it, although they are very damaged.
Very, very damaged. And this is on Millowin's side, so there are no heals coming that way. Jackk chooses to tank all that with the warrior. Ooh.
These golems got no HP, but it's still trading. Killed the crossbow dudes. Took out the Soul Stealer. And of course, all the time... Sorry, go ahead.
Towards Jack's favor. The XP that was in towards Jack's favor, it's now 20 XP ahead for DeathShoot. It's a very good example how Millowin starts to shine most at third perk with her spike having big golems.
Yeah, that golem at the top just held that bridge, traded well, and just gave an XP lead.
Bridge is remaining neutral. Both players are forcing these fights on the bridge whenever they can afford to guarantee that no XP is being generated towards your opponent. Once again, that's you defending the golem with that skeleton horde. Now Soul Stealer coming.
Scrutillery coming in, doesn't shut it down though. And then it's just going to start shredding. Even when the Whirly Scrat goes, it's still going to be relatively tanky. It's just going to keep shredding, and every time Deadshot Millowin uses a spell, that golem gets stronger, and up to, you can see the number 10 above it. It's in its strongest position now. It's still on the bridge though.
It's that.
There you go.
You can see it remained alive long enough for Jackk to cycle twice to the Searing Light, which is interesting because this golem does not come from DeathShoot cycling his deck. This golem is the way this perk works is that every 30 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, you get it on top of your deck. It might disrupt your cycle times, where it does mean you could run some heavier decks because you don't need to worry about not having the golem enough times.
That's right. You know, a lot of the masters have perks that are added as cards to the deck, so they go through with your cycle, but Millowin and Morelia, for example, their perks are on a timer. So as you say, a heavy deck doesn't slow down your perks. But also the other side of that is that you don't want to keep it in your hand for a while, because you want to use it and get it refreshing as soon as possible.
Yes, something that most players should be aware that if you have a perk card in your hand, in those case of those two masters, if you are not cycling them, the perk is basically on pause. So
that's right. So the 30 seconds to the next golem starts when you spawn the golem, not when it appears in your hand. Okay, so Deadshot's got Mana Frenzy now. He's going to be able to probably close this out because he's got the bridges locked down. He's already got a lot of units on the field. He's got a number of spells to do face damage. There we go. Deadshot's taken that one, and he's rushed himself into a 2-0 lead.
at that point, we could clearly see how the golem, the impact of the golem, was being such a big presence, because that golem just costs 2 mana. So all the presence he has and everything he removes, it's insane. In fact, we can consider this: the fact that Jackk used 2 Searing Lights, and Searing Light costs 1 mana, and he used 2 to remove that golem. It's already an equal trade. However, in all the time between these cycles, the golem was killing more things, was getting stronger, killing, getting presence on the bridge, generating more XP. So even if it was an equal trade, the golem had more presence. So it turns out not being an equal trade because of all the value the golem generated while on the field.
That's right. It's not just how much mana you spend to what you kill. It's about how much those units have influenced the game during that period. You could remove the golem for just 2 mana and say, hey, that's a fair trade. But if that golem's been alive for a while and been shredding many things, then that's not a great trade for you.
Nope.
Okay, so the next game, let me tell you here, that should be the next game. Right. Sorry about getting the decks messed up that time, guys. That was my fault. I'll take that one. Right.
Let's see.
So let's make
I
sure.
like how my camera was tilted and no one was saying anything.
Okay, so let's spin this
As
around.
Plank was mentioning, the Searing Light is considerably worth more than just 1 mana. As you might also say the same for the Burn the Bridges, but as they have the advantage of being master perks, we can consider them being stronger cards because of that.
Yeah, and as we were saying with the mana trades, it's not simply what you spend versus what your opponent spends. It's potentially what you're preventing their units from doing if you remove it. For example, they could have a unit that could last a long time, and especially with the golem for Milloween, you know, if you remove the golem, then every time they use a spell during that period, they're not getting any of their master perk during that. That's a lot more benefit as well. Okay, let's get game number 3 set up for you guys here.
Yep. I mean, that's also probably why some people just would rather add 3rd perk Milloween, just if they have Arcane Bolt, just straight up remove the golem with Arcane Bolt. Because while Arcane Bolt costs 2 mana, it has 2 mana freeze. So it's gonna block the next 2 mana you generate. So in total, Arcane Bolt will cost you 4 mana, which would be 4 mana for a 2 mana unit. However, as you were saying, it's a 2 mana unit that has the potential to generate a lot of value for Milloween. Sometimes it's just better to get it out of the way.
Yeah, because that thing gets large and becomes a real problem. Okay, so are you ready with game number 3? So, just to remind you guys where we are, Deadshot's 2 games to 0 up. Let's just update our score on the screen. There we go. So he's 2-0 up. If he wins this, that's going to be the first best of 5 over, and he's going to force a second best of 5. If Jackk wins this, then this first best of 5 is about to get interesting. Right.
Very interesting.
So, let's just make sure that we are ready. Let me just get this set up. Just run this one game ahead just a little bit. And then we'll swap back to the other one. Make sure we've got different decks on the different sides. Okay, perfect. Okay, are you ready to go, Defogo?
Watching Duel. You say go, we go.
Okay, we're going now.
All right. So we see an APEP versus Milloween. Very interesting because, as I was saying before, as we've seen, Milloween becomes very strong at 3rd perk. However, at 3rd perk, it's also APEP's strongest moment, the moment where he shines, because he has 2 free cards that he can get value out of. One of those costs 2 mana, the other costs 4 mana, but he's playing both of them for 0 mana, because it's APEP's perk. Not even counting the free totem you get.
Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen a lot of strong APEP decks on the ladder, just really cheap cycle decks to get cycle through and get those free cards as often as possible. Plus utilizing cards that really scale with cycle, like the Demon Warrior, for example, or the Futures.
Yes, that's mostly a very typical deck that's known for most players, known as Casino APEP, which you run double Future with APEP, and you just cycle through all that value.
You end up with cheap cards and free cards, and the hardest part of that is just trying to cycle as quickly as possible. Okay, so...
Did this just happen? Unbelievable. So as some players are aware, there is a very small specific place where you can play a unit, a flying unit on top of Yahoo, and if you will not be able to do it, to hit it, and that should just manage to play that illusion cleaver right there, making so that Yahoo was not able to attacking, and forcing Jackk to spend 2 mana on that shock rock to kill the illusion dragon.
Wow.
Very interesting.
See, that's one of those things. Is that a bug, or is that just smart gameplay?
No, the mysteries are bound to remain mysteries, right? So that's what he's opting to take all this damage on face, which is not that much, a lot of damage. And if you consider that in a matter of seconds, with the second perk, he's gonna have a totem to tank all of it.
That's a lot of damage though, but as you say, the totem is coming. He's doing return damage as well.
That is true, quite a good amount of return damage.
Yeah.
Minion basically is not known for being one of the strongest. It is empowered by the amount of spells you have on your hand. However, it does not mean it will be super good. Especially because the damage is divided by all the enemies that are attacking her face. So you cannot just remove one unit and then the next one. So all those units are going to be there attacking.
Well, that's a very nice shock rock though.
Ooh. Let's try to push the wall with a totem, but
yeah.
it's almost... that's
Okay.
very little.
Both players have taken a lot of damage here. But Deadshot's would be, you know, happier in that situation, as you say, because he's got that shield.
Yep. Not just that, both players are ahead on XP. Although in this case, I would say Jackk is the one that will be happy because APEP is probably more expected to be ahead on XP at this moment.
Okay, so by spawning Yahoo deep like that, he's basically giving up the bridges for a little bit. He spawns it deep to give him time to try to get some support with it. You spawn it right at the bridge, it can potentially be in trouble straight away with no support. But that's that golem did well at the top, taking out the succubus, but the flightless dragons will remove the golem.
And the Dark Roar was wasted because Dark Roar was going to succubus, but succubus died even before the frost feathers got there. So it was 2 mana that Jackk just wasted.
Okay, so that's the illusionary warps. All 3 of them with the Voidborn wounds. Okay, it'd be nice here if the golem survives at the bottom.
The golem survives, and APEP is focused on Yahoo, so those swarmers, the revenant swarmers, if not for the succubus, would just keep attacking APEP, and APEP would be ignoring it, focused on Yahoo.
Okay, but again, the shield goes down, pretty much no face damage. Perk 3 for Deadshot is a Fire Imp.
Which
Very
could be
high
quite good
DPS.
considering that that one has a lot of units that can deal some damage, but a Fire Imp it's very good DPS. We were talking about even trades, and we just saw DeathShoot play 5 mana artillery to remove the Arcane Golem, which is 2 mana. However, it granted him so much presence that, and since he's ahead on XP, these are trades that he is allowed to make at this time of the game.
Yeah, because it makes Jackk think, do I really want to use spells when I don't have that golem? You see Yahoo pushing at the bottom. Yeah, that's interesting. I'd never seen that before, where you can spawn the whelp on top of it and it can't attack it. But look at the flame imp shredding.
It's really hard to do, and that's what has managed to do it twice. And if we can consider the other time, it was not just one dragon whelp, there were 3. So the fact that when it was just one illusion dragon, and he managed to spawn it exactly on top of Yahoo twice, it just shows how much mastery the players have on the card.
Okay, so XP still in Deadshot's favour. Both players taking a lot of face damage, but Minion doesn't have a shield to call upon, so needs to be careful.
Wow.
That assassin gets shut down real hard there.
If not for that totem, assassin would one-shot the succubus.
Squatillery didn't really hit face much with it, but he's trying to kind of force his opponent to split the push. Yahoo's much more easy to deal with if you haven't got a huge golem behind it, and now that golem's pushing away on its own. But XP still in Deadshot's favour, as we've seen throughout this whole match. That Fire Imp at the bottom is going to get a lot of value. Does he get another shot off? Oof, not quite.
Wow.
That would have killed the golem as well.
It was 3 cards that managed to bait, as per se, Millowin's 3-second perk and the Shock Rock. Not to mention all the damage he did, so much value that's what he's getting from his Fire Imp already.
This is a scary looking push.
It is. In fact, Jackk needs these miraculous, strong looking pushes, dangerous looking pushes, because if this goes to Mana Frenzy, he's gonna lose. He will need to hold over 20 XP versus an APAP in Mana Frenzy, which will be very hard to do.
Yeah, Deadshot knows he just needs to hold on against this last 12 XP. If he can get to Mana Frenzy, then he should be able to close it down. You can see Jackk now spawning right on the bridges, just keeping the pressure on. More face damage, but Deadshot knows he's got that shield if he runs into terrible difficulty.
Now this might spell it right now because bridges are in DeathShoot's favor, so...
This is what happens if you hit Mana Frenzy whilst the bridges are in your court. There we go. It didn't even need to get. He just got to Mana Frenzy at the end there. But he didn't really need it. Just that Scrutillery on face, shutting that right down. So Deadshot's taken that first best of 5 series by 3 games to 0. Is that the kind of result that you would expect, Defogo?
I mean, not at all. I guess it is important to notice, for those that are not aware, that both players are in Bridge Baddies, which is the top #1 guild in the game. So these are players that know the game, know the cards, they know how to play, they know how to get efficient value out of what they get. And so, even if it was Rio, all games were quite close. I guess the first one ended up being the closest game since they were always tied up on XP. And in the other games, there was a point after 3rd perk where we could clearly see Deathshot having an XP lead or over 20. So in those cases, it was still close. 20 XP is close. And it's important to keep that in mind. 20 XP is close because if you do one strong push, the presence of that push and the fact that you can keep the bridges while you are pushing and attacking your opponent can just compensate all that XP. But that should manage to do it, and APAP has that advantage. He does not need to deal with that pressure. He can just totem, go for the bridges, and slowly take away and it's time to deal with the push.
Do you think Jackk made a mistake by not banning APAP then?
I wonder if he feels like he made a mistake by not banning APAP.
Because, you know, APAP's incredibly strong and you've got to have a good reason to not ban him. Be interesting to know what that mindset was. Okay, so Deadshot's won that by 3 games to 0, but that's not the end of it because Jackk got to the final through the winners bracket, which means he has a second life from this dual elimination format, which also means that everything up until now is going to be forgotten and we're going to start with a second best of 5. The winner of this will take it all. Both players have chosen to keep their bans the same. So that means Jack's still banning Mordor and Setsu and Deadshot's still banning Mordor and APAP. So that's it's interesting. Maybe he's banned Setsu specifically because he fears a Deadshot Setsu rather than just a Setsu.
Oh, I see what you mean.
But a Deadshot APAP, I mean, against Deadshot, you kind of want to ban all the masters. But unfortunately, that's not an option. Right, so I've sent you the link for the next game.
Game open. I'm seeing duel in front of me.
Okay, let's just get this. I'll set this up and then we'll be good to go.
I do wonder about what you were saying just now about DeathShoot playing sets, because Jackk decks do feel like they are quite late game, and as we saw even in this last game, even versus an APAP, Jackk got quite low on HP, so a set would be able to keep that pressure more constant, attack with higher impact, deal more damage, and if Jackk has no way to heal himself, he will need to defend with all his units, so probably the reason why he does not want to play versus Setsu, which can just straight up jump on your face, 50 damage guaranteed, and all the other shots, a stun shot at 3rd perk, which deals double damage, so it's quite hard to deal with, especially in 1v1.
Very true. So it's important here, like the Deadshot's won the first 3 games to 0. Jackk needs to kind of just forget that's happened and try and just play a fresh match, which is not so easy to do, is it?
it is not. As we've just seen, he tried. If you consider that exhaustion is also starts coming at play in the second best of 5, Jackk is now gonna be more exhausted, so he also will probably know what DeathShoot has in store for him, because now he knows some of the decks. The same is valid for the other side, so it is an advantage that he now no longer has.
Okay, so we're almost ready to go. Let's get this set up. Okay, so just to reiterate, we are back at 0-0. I am ready to go. Are you ready to go?
Yep, shall I go?
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright.
Okay, so we've got Valorian against Minion. Is that what you're seeing, Defogo? So we saw this match. Go again.
This was perfect. The brilliance of what we just saw. So DeathShoot played the bridge buddies in a way to guarantee those crossbow dudes would not generate any XP for Jackk. And then Jackk plays Plasma Marines to compensate for that experience that he just lost. And DeathShoot plays Vortex to guarantee, no, you are not getting these bridges. So just quite early on, that's what he's guaranteeing, no, I'm not gonna give you any XP. If I can deny you that XP, I'm gonna deny that XP. And we are seeing it right now, as DeathShoot hitting first perk even before Jackk is halfway through the first one.
Yeah, again, those small things, but just grabbing a bridge or not grabbing a bridge right off the start there can generate or miss quite a lot of mana, quite a lot of XP, sorry.
The shadows fade as I become strong.
Now Jackk, yes, the Valorian first perk, so now he's gonna have some healings, which
So
didn't do much on top.
We did see Valorian against Minion in the first best of 5, and Deadshot's Minion was able to take that, so it'll be interesting to see if this is a different outcome.
Well, what do you think from the cards, from the decks? How does it feel? Because it does feel like very close. Jackk is compensating the lack of experience he lost in the beginning, so...
Yeah, it looks... I think it's about the same. Yeah, getting some face damage now onto Deadshot, and we saw in some of the previous games he did drop very low on HP, but ultimately that was kind of irrelevant. Because we said again, you can just use your face as a resource, tank on your face to save your units taking the damage, and as long as you don't drop down to 0 HP, then you're okay.
True.
Okay, lovely shock rock, trying to trade at the bottom here. See, there you can see an example of just how much of a pain that golem with the support can be.
He just forced Jackk to play 5-man Legionnaires just because that golem managed to survive an assassin, which he even killed. All because of a very well-timed Shock Rock.
Yeah, Shock Rock, one of the strongest spells in the game for just allowing your units to suddenly be hugely mana efficient when they really shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean it's 2-mana spell with lots of utility, so... XP super dead close. Literally both players with the same XP, bridges one for each side.
Okay, so the Soul Stealer is going to feed on these. Remember, every time it gets a kill, it's going to increase its attack speed. It's got 6 stacks up to a maximum of 10. But once it gets to face, it's going to do some face damage, but once it gets to face, in a lot of occasions, it loses its usability. If you want it out in the field, just shredding units, ideally.
It worked 300 damage here on face, but as you said, DeathShot is doing a very good job managing this experience. This HP resource.
Yeah.
I mean, the bridges as well, as we can see, he just did 2 fights on the bridge and won them both. So, not to mention while the fight on the bottom bridge was happening, he kept the bridge, so he was generating experience while fighting.
Yeah, you can see every time they get a tiny opportunity to grab the bridges whilst fighting, they will do so. They use the collision where the units move and push off at each other when you spawn them just to grab a bridge. And you know, if you can defend while still holding the bridges, that puts you in a huge position. So you see the bottom here, he's going to spawn behind and grab that bridge.
And that's protecting the Soul Stealer from the golem.
Yeah, and that Soul Stealer's at 9 stack. So that can do a lot of damage, especially the Legionnaires are quite tanky. They're going to take a while to be removed. Soul Stealer's on face. It's going to go down ultimately, but that's going to be a lot of face damage coming out.
7, 8, 9, 10. That's already 500 damage. That was over 500 damage on face just now in a time period of like 5 seconds. With 9 stacks, it's so dangerous.
Yeah. And remember, that Soul Stealer's it used to be even more insane. It got nerfed, you know, a few times, but it's still when it gets the stacks up like that, it still really packs a punch. Perk 3 about to hit now.
Yep. I mean, DeathShoot's golems are already reaching 6 stacks even without the third perk, so how high are they going to be right now?
Yeah. So you can see there, Deadshot had, only for a split second, but he had 2 golems out at the same time, and you know, that's a nice place to be.
Soul Stealer coming in some spearless throwers on bot. And will it reach face? It does reach face. So DeathShoot has never stopped the Soul Stealer from coming to face. So he really is aware that, like, okay, he has no big spells, I'll just take it all.
Yeah.
1 HP is more than enough.
What a lot of new players make the mistake of doing is they try to deal with the Soul Stealer with things like Marines and crossbow dudes whilst tanking on those units, and the Soul Stealer kills them and then carries on and does massive face damage. You know, what you've got to do is think, look, I can't tank this unit on my units. Let me let it hit face, then I'll drop my Marines and we'll kill it quickly.
Yep. Sometimes you take less damage if you start for taking damage, so...
So still XP lead for Deadshot for the red team. He's down to 635 HP, but we've seen him manage that HP so well.
Quite similar to the previous Milo in Valorant, if I'm not mistaken, where starting third perk the XP started being so even.
That's right. That golem getting shredded pretty quickly.
But just the fact he managed to live, and now he has a curse bear in front of him, it's gonna be such... It's a small push, as you were saying before, and these small pushes can be quite critical because Jackk needs to deal with them. These golems on face, yeah, you see he does not allow the golem to reach on face.
And all the time that's happening, Jack's defending deeply, the bridges are red, and Deadshot's XP lead's increasing.
Oh wow, that was very well played by Jackk. He managed to protect the Soul Stealer from the Arcane Missile, playing so that the 2-mana Frost Feather did not kill the Soul Stealer. It is slowed now, so the 5 stacks don't count that much.
Okay, more face damage, but yeah, he spawned it just as the spell happens, and it's just a bit of game sense there. Okay, 330 HP. This is getting very close. Deadshot knows if he gets the Mana Frenzy, he should be able to close it out, but can he get there? It's going to be good damage from the Searing Light, but the Vortex pulling everything together starts getting shredded, but the Spear Throws do take out the Golem, and again, every little bit of face damage is just a real huge important situation right here for Deadshot, because ultimately he's going to end up with none left.
And we can see he's starting to not have that much mana. He's starting not to be able to bank that mana, to save that mana. He needs to play, he needs to protect his face. He can no longer use that resource.
Mana Frenzy for the red team though, but he doesn't have any of the bridges, so he does get a bit of a mana increase from the XP that's generated, but without those bridges, he's going to really struggle to get much of an increase.
Jackk needs to stop that assassin on top. Jackk, no, that should, and he stops with a shock rock, and then a whirlwind defend also from the crossbows behind.
Nicely done, but Jack's coming close to his own Mana Frenzy here, and it feels like if Jackk gets the Mana Frenzy, he's going to be able to be in a strong position, because he's defending pretty well so far.
And it will also be easier for Jack's Soul Stealer to get more stacks in Mana Frenzy, because that will obviously be playing more and more units.
The Mana Golem's getting shredded deeper and deeper each time, and this could be, it's more face damage, 205. He's using the Vortex, but he's just using it just to desperately keep things away from his face, not being able to support it.
Oh.
140. Remember that Arcane does 65 damage to face, but this could be too much here. There we go. Jack's got his first game of the final. Now that's important because, you know, Deadshot won the first by 3-0, but Jack's ended that run of Deadshot victories to make this a lot more interesting right now.
And we saw Deadshot got Mana Frenzy around 15 experience before. But Jack just managed to keep those pushes going up, going up. He's like, okay, no. My win condition here is getting those pushes in. I need those pushes in. And maybe not to kill him, but to keep that pressure. And by keeping that pressure, DeathShoot was not able to use as much mana as he wanted on the bridges. Because he could not afford to use that mana there. The Soul Stealer with the Spear Throwers, Legionnaires, it's every little thing. But as you were saying, little by little, that HP just got lower and lower and lower. And to the point where it was, no, I cannot take anything else here on this phase. I need to defend everything. So even to that makes it so that even if Jack has some crossbow dudes coming, he might want to invest some mana to play something to defend them. And that will probably not be an even trade, which will put Jack in an advantage. You do that trade 3-4 times in an almost mana frenzy period for Jack, that's all the advantage he needs. And as we saw, with his big units, well, his medium units, he managed to keep a hold on the bridge and make his mana frenzy count more. Unbelievable. Very well done. Here Jack played really like by the line, like knowing a couple seconds would have made the total difference in this game. It was so unbelievable, so incredible. Wow.
An interesting little fact that Deadshot shared with me. I don't know if you think this changed much or not, but he said, when I was around 12 XP from Mana Frenzy in Game 4, which we've just watched, I lost audio on my right headphone. Do you think that's the sort of thing that could throw someone's concentration?
I mean, definitely.
Just
I don't know at what point, but if we do consider that there was also a point where DeathShoot missed an Arcane Missile, and maybe that Arcane Missile might be timed with the moment he lost that audio, it could be an example of how that audio disturbance made him lose concentration for a split second, which was more than enough. Because that Arcane Missile might have just killed a unit that would make DeathShoot not need to play mana to defend. So small details, very small details at play here.
The question is it an interesting bit of information or an excuse? Okay, so let's get set up. I've sent you the next game. So we're seeing Jack really enjoying playing Valorian. Are you surprised that he's playing Valorian so much?
Well, Valorian is very strong. And not only Valorian, he's playing Empyrean Valorian, which means that his units are going to empower the basic attack of Valorian, making his Searing Light be stronger. So having all of that set up does show how big, how strong Valorian can be.
Okay, so I'm just going to get this set up and then we'll crack on. Okay, so that's fine. Right, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go, yes.
Okay, so we are 1-0 to Jack in this second best of 5, the final best of 5. 1v1 number 20. Whoever wins this best of 5 will take the title for the event. Okay, so let's get ready. 3, 2, 1, and go. Okay. We see Volko for the first time. Jack playing Valorian again. Deadshot switching to Volko. How do you feel about Volko at the moment? It's obviously it got changed a lot recently.
I like Volko. I mean, he was, well, not considering before the 1 mana drop changed, but when his when his second perk could only affect melee minions, it was already quite power that you could get there. But now that his second perk gives rage to both ranged and melee minions, it is much stronger. Not even considering the Burn the Bridge, which is 1 mana spell that, as in case of Valorian Searing Light, can give you much more than just 1 mana value.
Yeah, that's right. When his perks only affected melee units, it did kind of really restrict you with your deck building. If you wanted to include ranged units, then obviously you were going to miss out on any sort of perk benefit. And of course, Valorian not being, Volko not being able to hit air, not having those things in your deck can be a huge problem.
Very big problem.
Now we've seen Deadshot play this deck on ladder, I think. So he's got the Crystal Construct, which is a relatively low DPS unit, but it does. I mean, it attacks slowly, but it hits pretty hard. But as it
rage now.
When it gets rage, as you say, when it gets rage and Berserker Rage from the perk, that thing can really pack a punch. I think it does 200 damage at Berserker Rage, something like that, which can really do a lot of work.
And an expected damage, if we consider that, no one would be like, oh well, I'll just tank these Crystal Construct because it's going to do a lot of damage because no one's expecting that. So the element of surprise can also be quite interesting if we get to see that at play.
Okay, so again, XP very similar right now. It's a big clear though. That's going to be a little XP lead now for Jack. Probably get some face damage as well. There's an assassin in there. Remember, it does triple damage when it comes out of stealth, so that's a nice bit of face damage. So that assassin just wailing away. But the bridges stay blue for quite a while there. So now we'll start seeing those embers spawning on the bridges. See the ember at the bottom? That means if Deadshot's units pick that up, they'll get rage. As we were saying, both melee and ranged units can pick that up. There we go. So we got an enraged crystal construct at the top. You can tell they're raged because they're kind of glowing red. And this is a nice little push coming from Deadshot.
Oh, that pincer of red killing the assassin. That could be huge because assassin deals a lot of damage. And if that assassin could stop an enraged whirly, that would be a lot of value. But getting that 3-mana spell to kill a 4-mana unit could be very, very good for that.
And of course, as we've mentioned many times, it's not just what you're killing. If you're preventing a bridge grab, then you're forcing your opponent to spend more mana. And that's a good position to be in.
Very good position here. Although it is interesting because we were talking about Volko's vulnerability to not hit air, but probably because Jack was not expecting this, we don't see much air in his deck aside from this Dragon Weld.
Yeah, Volko not played a huge amount. But the best of 5s tend to bring out a bigger selection of masters than the best of 3s. Of course, you can play masters again and again if you want to, but some players like to switch it up, and Deadshot's got decks for every master that are very strong.
I like how you emphasize that for every master that are very strong. It does go to show that being a good player also means to know what masters are stronger and what masters are better at doing something that other masters cannot do.
Yep. Okay, there we see the stint grabbing the bottom bridge. Doesn't seem like a big thing, but it forces his opponent to spawn the crossbow dudes. That's a little bonus you're getting for effectively nothing from the stint. Searing Lights.
Running with Outlander units, which also empower, which makes it better for him to be able to get that stint, the necessary value more often, because to do that, stint does need 50 Outlander tech, which we can see in, well, which it is possible to see now with the new interface they added. There is always an indicator of how much tech and the Cursed Ascension stacks you have. So it is quite nice to always know what you're going to be able to do. Oh, what a Crystal Blast killing the Frost Feathers flyby. That was very well played. Fate might have been enough to make that Soul Stealer live right now, and Soul Stealer is a unit that's problematic for Volko. Fortunately, the Blast is dealt with it.
Okay, so Berserker Rage now at perk 3. That means that melee units will do 100% extra damage. Ranged units still just get regular rage, 50% extra damage. So, you know, anything, even the Scrat Horde picks up Berserker Rage. It can shred through some big units.
It will always be an expected damage because no one is like, oh wait, it's a Scrat Horde, he's gonna deal tons of damage, I need to deal with it quickly. No, people are not used to thinking like that. So it's quite, I quite like these new changes to Volko because it does feel more into, it does fall more into his character as what Volko is supposed to be.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a very offensive master. Whereas before, when he used to have the afterburner and ping in face, you know, you could just sit back, you know, just grab your Mark's Bridge and just spam through your deck. Whereas now we see it's high DPS units grabbing the rage, and then really going to town.
Ooh, slightly scary push. Well, it could be, but it was very well dealt with.
Vincent doesn't quite, didn't quite kill it, but the crossbow dudes came in there.
There's a new one on the...
XP so close.
these matches are quite interesting, like, because the fact that it's so close, it shows how much both players are aware of what they need to do. It is now the second time Jack uses that Searing Lights to kill the Drone Walker, which is one of the biggest threats to the Soul Stealer, as you might consider.
That's right, you've got to analyze the game as it's going and figure out, you know, what your opponent has that is the biggest threat to you, what you have is the biggest threat to them, and you know, try and utilize that as appropriate.
And there it goes, another Soul Stealer. It's probably going to be tanked since, yep, Volko definitely does not want the Soul Stealer in his face.
Needs to be careful here because that could get out of range, and then the it's just if that got out of range, then the Soul Stealer would turn around, but it didn't quite get it. Looks like a bit of mana burn there for Jack. Definitely doesn't want to get that, but Jack's ahead on XP here. He's closing in on Mana Frenzy. He's got a little bit of an XP lead when it matters most. Bridges are currently red though, so he needs to grab the bridges, pop over to his Mana Frenzy, and then just try to solidify his position here.
And there it is, Mana Frenzy for Jack. Is he gonna be able to make use of this Mana Frenzy? Because as we've seen in the previous game, DeathShoot was the one that got Mana Frenzy first, and he still ended up losing. So is Jack gonna be the same?
Okay, he's keeping that construct away from picking up the rage. Gets shut down. I think Jack's in a good position here. He's had the bridges for a while. He's building up the mana. He's getting the units out. Soul Stealer's on face. It's going to go down. The flyby and the pincer taking it out. But here comes the next wave.
And there it is. That's who hits Mana Frenzy now. Is it going to be enough? There is a very big wave coming. He was not able to stop this Soul Stealer from getting on face, and he is attacking. The Soul Stealer might just make it. And there it is. Wow.
Wow. Jack's picked himself up off the floor, losing the first best of 5 3-0. Now he's 2-0 up, and he's a match away from taking the entire event. Did you see that turnaround happening?
I mean, I was not expecting. I have to say, I was not expecting, especially considering that the previous match was a 3-0 for DeathShoot way, and right now we just see Jack coming on all the way up. Well, maybe he was just doing it to guarantee we would get the most entertainment as possible.
Oh, goodness me. Right, okay. So, let's get these matches. Oh, I just DM'd the wrong person. Whoops. Sorry, Deadshot, that's not for you. That's not for you. Okay, right, so we're deep into this final. We've seen the first best of 5. Deadshot took that 3-0. We're currently 2-0 in the second best of 5. We're going to get set up for the next game. Just a second here.
Yep, everything loading. What is it going to be?
So remember, the players can stick or switch with the masters, so it's a bit of a mind game. If they've got a deck that they like, are they going to stick with it? Do they think their opponent's going to change? You know, sometimes you just have to decide, I'm just going to play my own game, and whatever I come up against, then we'll just have to deal with it.
Well, it is to consider that even if you are not playing maybe the strongest deck, if it is a deck you are comfortable with, you might be able to bring out more value out of that deck than if you're playing some random deck that you saw on leaderboard, like, wow, this deck is #1 on leaderboard, it's probably going to be super good. But if you cannot play it, if it does not cope with your style, you are probably not going to be able to play it better than your own decks that you are used to, and you master the cards, you have more knowledge on those cards. So very interesting things to consider here when choosing what deck to play.
Yeah. It's like you need to make the decision without knowing all of the information. And sometimes you get lucky and you switch to something that's like a nice counter deck to what your opponent plays. Okay, so let's get set up here. We got Jack on that side.
DeathShoot on the other.
Okay.
Well, by this time it is no surprise for any of the viewers, like, well, DeathShoot versus Jack, we got that part right.
I nearly messed up the decks again. I figured out what I did. Instead of I pressed the instead of switching the players, I just pressed the restart button. So I thought I'd switch the players, but I just restarted it. I'm gonna have to take the blame for that one. Okay, so you ready to go for the next one, Defogo?
Yep, everything set up.
Okay, so here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Going we are.
Okay, so we got a Milo mirror. How do you feel about that?
I mean, we've seen how powerful these golems can be, so Milo-in versus Milo-in, it's probably the conclusion both players reached. I'd also find it interesting, so we see Jackk playing with Dark Fury skin, and DeathShoot playing in Magma Cords. Like, both players have like the fire side on their side.
Yeah.
Just small detail that probably affects nothing in gameplay, so... that Vortex guaranteeing XP for DeathShoot.
So with
Or
these
not.
with these mirror matchups, sometimes it can be really important who just gets to that perk before the opponent, and just have that small window of that extra strength in your deck.
And in this case, for first perk, I would say we see not much of a discrepancy, since they practically hit at the same time. Although experience is in DeathShoot's favor, and it's now for making these bridges swap faster that we can't even say anything about them.
I'm surprised he spawned that golem so far forward. Just wanted to grab the bridge, but those small golems just get shredded, and the Beam of Doom just getting some great value at the top. And again,
I don't know if that's Beam of Doom.
when you look at the mana trade there, you might not think it's amazing, but remember we're shutting down the golem's potential as well.
That is true, but the reason why I find it strange is because even though Jackk invested those 7 mana on the Beam of Doom, he did not have the bridge.
Yeah.
So he invested quite a lot of mana, yes, to shut down a unit, but he didn't keep the bridge, so... Interesting play. There goes the defense, so shutting down all the potential the Worldly could do. Because defense, so it's gonna stun and deal 50 damage back to any melee attacker, so...
Even against range units, relatively tanky, so it's a nice thing to have there in front of his golem. The golem getting slowed from the flyby for Jackk. But it's going to definitely trade a lot worse there.
Oof.
Deadshot in a nice position XP wise. And he's going to get his second perk is here.
You see a Vortex, that was probably a mistake. Although even before that Vortex, Jackk did a Crystal Blast, which did not kill the golem, and he had no bridges once again, so he's investing mana on killing units when he does not have the bridge. You can start seeing now that this experience lead is gonna start increasing and increasing. If Jackk keeps doing like this, if he keeps investing his mana on spells to kill units without grabbing those bridges, because he needs those bridges in this type of mirror match.
Deadshot in the chat saying that was an assassin prediction Vortex. I'm not sure if he's trying to save face or if he's actually explaining what happens.
I guess this explains why there was a Vortex there that did nothing. If we consider that Jackk has been playing Assassin and getting good value out of those Assassins, sometimes playing a spell, a defensive, a prediction spell, as we might say it, could make up for it. And if you consider that Deathshot had the bridges and did not have, and Jackk had no units on the fields, it could very well justify just, well, I can just do this. I'll try to be preemptive here.
Yeah, that's what the top players do. They pay attention to what their opponents have, and you know they're just trying to figure out what's the most likely thing my opponent's going to do in this situation, and how do I react to that? And either try to react and take care of it, or try to be ahead of the game there, like Deadshot tried to preempt with the Vortex. Didn't pan out, but okay, Beam of Doom there. Does it kill it? Doesn't quite kill the golem. That's frustrating. It's good face damage, but
because this golem is level 5 due to third perk.
I think those arcane missiles there were just to keep that golem alive. Remember, every time a spell's used, it's going to buff that golem a little bit, so that extra HP from those spells is keeping that golem alive and keeping the bridge. That's a big XP lead for Deadshot right now. Remember, if Jackk wins this, he does take the series, but Deadshot's fighting for his life here, and he's in a strong position right now.
I mean, it does show how people put up a fight when the title is on the line, let's say it.
So here we see, Deadshot's got the massive golem already from his perk 3. Little golem's still for Jackk, so this is going to be a big mismatch in strength right now.
Very big, level 8 versus level 2.
But look, that level 3 golem trading hugely well at the bottom there with the support of the spells and the units. The Vortex doesn't quite kill everything, does it? Oh, the Whirly Scratch just surviving. Frustrating. Still no perk 3. Deadshot's got a massive XP lead right now.
And one thing we can also consider and keep in mind is that both players now, even though they are playing the same masters, we can see that DeathShoot is always almost with 10 mana, while Jackk is almost never above 5-6 mana. There are little the chances where he can get that mana advantage even on his bank, so that just shows a lot to see who's in control of the game.
It's like a little bit of mana burn there from Jackk, just waiting, I think, for the units to aggro on face. But now perk 3 for Jackk, but he's a long way behind.
He will need a miracle. There it goes, now a Crystal Blast that guarantees him the reach since he had the crossbow there. A beam on face. So Jackk is going quite aggressively here to guarantee like that damage on face. He knows he's behind on XP, so he probably wants to put more pressure to guarantee that DeathShoot will need to worry about the face damage he's taking.
Do you think he feels that killing before Mana Frenzy is his only choice right now for Jackk, so that's why he's just going on face whenever he can?
I mean, if you have the possibility to play a spell on face, like to get value out of spell and play it on face, you should always do it. Does not mean it's the only thing you can do to win. But in this case in particular, Jackk definitely needs all that extra damage he can do, because if you're not ahead on XP, at least try to be ahead on HP.
You can see Deadshot there spawned his golem as far away from the tower as possible, because he knows that Jack's itching with that Beam of Doom to get face damage and to shut that golem down. So he spawned it as far away as possible to not allow that. But here we go, Mana Frenzy coming in for Deadshot.
Yeah.
Jack's a long way down, a bit more pressure on face. But ultimately, Deadshot, yeah, if Deadshot can just grab these bridges and just hold them for a little bit, that extra mana is going to become a huge problem.
And notice that, man, at this point, this is an XP difference of over 30. So it's going to take a good amount of time to Jackk even be close. We can see that he was just forced to play Beam, not on face, because he needs to get rid of that. He needs to get those valuable plays. And even if you consider that, it might look like value. He just used a 7 mana spell on a 2 mana unit when the opponent is not at Mana Frenzy.
And of course, when you use all your mana on a spell like that, you're going to be very light on minions on the field. And when you're already behind on units and bridges, that's going to put you in a struggle position. Okay, nice bridge grab at the top though with the assassin, but the vortex keeps the golem alive. And Deadshot's sensing that he can put the game to bed here.
Is it going to be? It was.
Wow. Deadshot bringing it back. 2-1 in the final now to Jackk. Mana Frenzy lasts for the rest of the game. It's effectively perk 4. Once you get to Mana Frenzy, the rest of the game is going to be a Mana Frenzy game. Okay, so 2-1. This one could go down to the wire. Deadshot pulling himself back off the canvas. Which way do you see this going now, Defogo? Any ideas, or is it up for grabs for anyone right now?
They've just played so much with our minds right now that I cannot see who's gonna win. I mean, both players definitely have a good shot. They've both proven, you know, I can beat you. So, and that is important, especially if we take in consideration the previous games. Like having the notion, like the idea that you're not facing an opponent that's over your level can quite boost your morale, and you'll be like, no, wait, focus, I can do this, I can play, I can win this match. And that is very important.
Yeah, very little to choose between them. We've seen that XP's been so close between all the matches, all the way through, and then just one player's just able to get that little advantage and either close the game out or get to Mana Frenzy first and then just take that power and finish their opponent off. Right, so 2-1. The question is, can Deadshot bring this back to 2-2 to force a final decider game, or is Jackk going to be able to close it out? Let's get this set up.
Much expect a reverse sweep from DeathShoot part or not? I'm all in favor of reverse sweeps because it's always very interesting to see how someone managed to crawl all the way up. Even DeathShoot, because he lost once in the winner brackets. He managed to go all the way to the final in loser brackets, come out the winner, and win a grand final versus Jackk to deserve himself the right to go for a redemption match. So, well, he won the redemption match, so to grant him the right to go for this grand final. So is he gonna do it? Is he gonna be able to pull himself all the way back up or not? Is what we're gonna see.
Yeah, we've seen in some of the previous Mega SBI and GGToor events that, especially with Lazur looking down and out in the finals, and somehow being able to just to bring himself back into contention and ultimately win the whole event after being, you know, I think we've seen him down against Cat before, and you know these top players, they can struggle, but then you know they can just reset themselves and say, hey, look, let's go again. This is not over. Let's forget what's happened and just treat this as a new match. And I think it's important because, you know, sometimes you can get overwhelmed when things are not going your way and get frustrated. But the top players seem to be able to just put that out of their mind and start again. Okay.
Even if you were saying information is a weapon, so the fact that they know the other opponent's decks, or the fact that even if they don't know, as the game goes through, they know like, oh wait, he has that card, oh wait, he has that card, it will allow them to start building their battle plan as per se, like, okay, my win condition versus that type of deck is by going Mana Frenzy. Okay, no, I'm gonna lose a control battle here. He's gonna grab bridges much easier. I need to kill him before he gets more bridges. Like, by knowing this, every little piece of information, once you start piecing them all together, it's gonna start showing you your way through victory. And that's what we are watching at this level. Even when you are behind, you are ahead, they know, like, this is what I need to do.
Okay, so I'm ready to go for the next one. Are you?
I can barely wait.
Okay, I'm on 0 seconds. We're going to do a countdown. We're going to go 3, 2, 1, and go.
Go.
Hold on, we might have a problem here. Oh, okay, I just started. Sorry, I had a bit of a problem, but we're okay now. We're at 5 seconds.
I am the light.
I think we should be okay. Sorry about that. That was a bit of a false start.
There we go. We on. I slightly reduced the speed of my reproduction, so I would say we are around the same right now. There we see the Frost Feather like grabbing top but not bot. Quite interesting because of the way the Frost Feathers split themselves amongst the units.
Yep, this is the grand final of one of our 1v1 tournaments. We're deep into it. The first best of 5 was taken by Deadshot 3-0. We're currently 2-1 in the second best of 5. Jackk leading at the moment. Jackk playing Valorian. He's really favoured Valorian. Deadshot playing Apep. We were surprised that Apep didn't get banned. But he's utilising that functionality, getting Apep out and trying to get the most value from it. So what free card did Deadshot just grab?
He just got a stint. Now let's keep in mind, he has plasmas on that deck. So he's able to get Outlander tech easier and get even more value out of an already very valuable free stint.
Very nice.
If you consider that this Apep is going for control and he wants that experience, having a free card that you can use for control and bridge grab, giving you even more bridges and more value can be very huge.
Okay, so slight XP lead for Jackk right now, but nothing really to talk about in that regards.
Very slow matches, very slow pushes. Both players seem to be going for control at the moment. We see no big pushes, or well, medium pushes coming from Jack's Empyrean cards. He is saving some mana, I do wonder why. Because he has no bridges. That should almost burn one, but we can see how flawless it was played. He played 1 second before even burning.
Yeah, interesting point from Deadshot in the chat. Remember, we are watching this from replays, so that the players are in the chat. He's not getting any Outlander tech from the stint because the stint is free.
No, exactly, but he has the plasmas, so those plasmas are gonna little by little stack up the Outlander tech that stint could use.
Yeah, so you might not be able to use it every cycle, but it's definitely going to be the potential that you can use it every now and then. A sneaky little bridge grab.
To be more precise, every 4 Plasma Marines that should place, it's gonna give him, well, let's say a stint that can use the Outlander tag to grab a bridge. Of course, it will not always be precisely 4 because those remaining tech will count, but we can have that into consideration. Oh, and there it is, the Searing Light killing the sniper. So Jackk has been doing this before in the previous matchup versus Ratpo. In fact, the first one we watched, I believe, he was using those steering lights to get all those snipers out of the way, which makes sense because he just played a Soul Stealer, and since Sniper has a higher range than a Soul Stealer, it's quite hard for Soul Stealer to deal with him.
Yeah, that's right. When you're talking about your removal, you want to remove the things that are that mostly counter your unit. So as you say there, the snipers will shut down that Soul Stealer, but without the snipers, that Soul Stealer can get a lot more value. The shield, of course, being dropped from Deadshot, so that Soul Stealer is effectively just wailing against the wall right now. And a big XP lead for Deadshot here.
I mean, this APEP, I would say, is quite happy right now because he has a very good XP lead versus the Valorian.
We're going to see very shortly what Deadshot gets from perk 3, and that can be pretty important. But any free card is most likely to be a good card. There's a few less than ideal picks at times, but at least it's a free card.
And I mean, with an XP advantage like this, every time you are cycling your free card at this point before your opponent even starts getting value out of his third perk, it will be quite huge. So as long as he can make a decent value, decent use. Oh, another Curse Bearer I'm seeing.
Double Curse Bearers, that's an extra tanky unit. That's useful.
There it is.
The curse itself's not going to do a huge amount of value, but it's just another tanky body out there. Another bridge grab. It's something that his weaker units can hide behind. And again, that shield just soaking so much damage. Almost leaves the face untouched.
I mean, Jackk is in a very perilous spot right now. He cannot win. His units barely can get on the bridges. Not just that, as you were saying, Curse Bearer is a tank. So when you are running control decks, your units are probably going to be cheaper, are not probably going to be that tanky, because you want to be able to easily play them on the bridge to get the value of the bridge. However, if in your third perk you just got a tanky unit, that will not only be able to simply play her on the bridge, because it's worth zero mana, so it's a free unit you are playing to get the bridge. It will also protect the cheaper units you had before, and will allow you to bring more value out of them. So it's very good. It's probably a very good card for DeathShoot to get here.
Still a good XP lead for the red team right now.
30 XP leads. You can even see DeathShoot pulling that Soul Stealer closer to his crossbow dude to guarantee the crossbow dude to kill it as fast as possible.
And as the mana speed increases, the generation rate increases, we get deep into this match. This is where the cheap cycle APEP just can get out of control. With the cheap cards, with the free cards, you can just really flood both lanes. Put a lot of pressure on the bridges. There you see the stint, grabbing the bottom bridge momentarily.
Another very interesting aspect I was barely forgetting. Curse Bearer, it's a very good counter for Jack's Assassin. So
That's
Jackk
right,
is known for playing, and he plays them very well. But if he had only one Curse Bearer, he would probably want the Curse Bearer to kill the Assassin. Now he has two, so he can very well just play them for tanks, just go. Because he has another ready to counter the Assassin.
Very good point. That curse brings the Assassin out of its stealth, so it doesn't get a chance to do its big attack.
Yep. As we saw, that should do it just now, because
There we go, at the bottom there.
zero value. On the bridge, of course, I mean zero value on that bridge.
See the Vortex there, just pulling the units off of the bridge, just holding the bridge just a bit longer. And Deadshot closing in on Mana Frenzy. Looks like he's going to be able to get there with a lot of room to spare.
Fair lot of room. It is room that he wants, because as we were saying, he does not have many units that are threatening, are more fragile units for bridge grab. So you are not going to win with one push now at Mana Frenzy as an APEP control. You can, however, start stacking up all those little units, because little by little those small units are going to start becoming more and more of a threat.
That's it, just end up swarming your opponent. Vortex being used lovely at the top there, keeping that Sniper alive. Sniper getting a lot of value now. Looks like it's going to survive against the Marine as well. Might go down, no, it's still okay.
He's still alive. And he already has a second sniper while the first one is still on the field.
Yeah,
Not
when
healing.
so Jackk has removal for snipers, but when he manages to get 2 up and he's ahead of the removal, there you go. One sniper goes down to the removal, but there's already another one there, and he'll be cycling to the next one soon as well. And here you can see Deadshot's extra mana. He's just coming in, cycling, keeping those cheap cards just flooding forward, doing more face damage every little push here.
Lauren is using everything he can get out of that sword to kill all the units that he's playing. So
this looks like the beginning of the end.
Is it gonna be the beginning of the end? It was the beginning of the end.
Okay, game. I think you were slightly ahead of me there. That was my fault. No problem. Okay, Deadshot has brought the series back to 2 games all. Huge pressure on both players now at the end here. Deadshot's got a bit of he's got a bit of a winning streak going. He's won the last 2 games. Can he win 3 in a row to finish it off, or can Jackk come back, put an end to that? We'll find out real soon. This is the final match. Yeah.
I do wonder, will we even be able to bet on that? Like, can the viewers bet who they think is gonna win this final match? I wonder.
Yeah, we could do. We could set up a prediction. Good idea. Okay, who will win the final? Is it gonna be Jackk, or is it gonna be DeathShoot, whatever his silly name is, Oney. Okay, hold on. Is that too long? Let's find out. Right. You got 2 minutes to get your prediction in. Who will win the final? Will it be Jackk or DeathShootOneyOoney? Hopefully that should pop up now. No, don't look at the bracket. I mean, you could cheat if you wanted to, but hopefully people won't cheat. We are watching this from replays, so you know you could go to the. No, moving on, moving swiftly along. I didn't say anything.
And there is one other thing I'd like to comment on, because we saw in those last moments of Jackk life in previous game, there was a hugger going to his face, and the hugger managed to enter Valorian. So now, of course, when a unit with curse gets closer to the master do not get cursed. But we do see the master getting stunned for, if I'm not mistaken, 3 seconds. Now those were 3 seconds where Valorian was not attacking, which allowed the units that you had on Jack's side of the field to get even closer and closer, being more threatening. All because a very small 2-man hugger managed to get into there. Of course, it's a very peculiar interaction which just happens with Ghost and Hugger once they reach the opponent's master phase. But it can be quite impactful in some cases. In this case, it was the difference of those seconds where Valorian stopped attacking. If we consider, for example, other masters as Mordar attacks faster and faster as time goes on. Now, if that Hugger manages to get into Mordar and stun Mordar, it's gonna reset Mordar attack speed. So, very small details, but these small details at this level can make a very big difference.
Yeah, just those small things, and as you say, shutting down the DPS of, for example, Mordar is huge in that situation. Any master that's got high DPS, that small stun is going to be massive. Okay, let's get set up.
Valorian is one of the masters that hits harder, as you were saying, so shutting down that DPS is also very good. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to get this set up, and then we'll check the check what the voting is. There should be prediction in the chat, so you can predict who do you think is going to win this. Looks like some people have been voting. Is it going to be Jackk or is it going to be Deadshot? This is the final game of the final.
I do see little faith in Jackk. I cannot believe this. So we've seen Jackk played so well in these last games. Especially he managed to get a 2 games lead. So even though he has lost it now, he has managed to play so well. And yet, it seems the chat has odds of 2% for Jackk. So
that's right. 2% of the chat have gone for Jackk. 98% of the chat have gone for Deadshot. I feel like if we'd done these votes as the games progress, the voting would be wildly different, especially the start of the second best of 5 where Jackk took the first 2 games. But here we are, right at the end of this. This has gone almost as deep as it could do. And we're almost ready to load into the final game to see who's going to take this tournament. Let's get the score set up. We are 2 games all. Let's make sure that the casting is set up correctly. Okay, so we've got Deadshot on the left here. We've got Jackk on the left here. Okay, DeFogoX. Who do you think's going to win?
I want to put my faith in this APEP, but I do believe this Valorant can put up quite a fight.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to see a rematch of the previous game. Valorian again for Jackk. APEP again for Deadshot. We were surprised that APEP wasn't banned by Jackk, so Deadshot's taken advantage of that, and every time he's played him, he's played 2 APEPs so far, and he's won both of those games. So he's sticking with that so far. Oh, hold on. Are we lagging or are we good? 1 second.
If something is working, why change it, right?
That is true. Okay, looks like we had some lag, but I think we're back. Green's frozen. Just refresh if you need to. Hopefully it's not a big issue. Okay. We all good in the chat?
Hope everyone is as hyped as we are to watch this last match.
Yeah, who knows where it's going to go. Deadshot's got the wind in his sails right now. Can he close it out? Or can Jackk pick himself up like he did after the first best of 5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I am ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay.
Right.
Oh, I messed up a little bit. Hold on. I think my game might have crashed. We might have to start this one again. I think my game might have crashed.
Start again. Keeping the suspense high here when everyone's like, this is going to be in a moment. Are we going to see who's going to win? And then no, we are not yet.
Okay, no, I think we might be okay. I'm just going to need to restart this replay, but I think we're okay. It wouldn't let me start, but let's try again. Okay, so we've got this replay at 6 seconds. That's fine. Professional broadcast. Hey, hiccups happen. We get through them. We pretend they didn't happen, and we never speak about them again. It's quite simple. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Let's get into the final game.
It's duo.
Okay, here we go.
Right.
So, Valorian against APEP. APEP's won every one of these games so far.
It has. But here we can see how Jackk does not want to allow that. Like, this Valorian he needs to win versus an APEP.
Jackk has played Valorian in almost every game. Just 2 Milloweens.
Oh.
Deadshot's played Ratbo, Milloween, APEP, Volko.
Oh, so this is probably the APEP we're not expecting, because we have not seen this yet.
Demon Warrior.
Taking quite a bit of early damage.
Demon Warrior, one of those cards that's really benefits from a cheap cycle. Remember, the 5th time you spawn it, it gets 3 times as big and 3 times as powerful, which means you want to get to that stage as quickly as possible, and a cheap cycle deck will allow you to do that. Now, he's got a Screaming Scrat as his free card. Remember, the Screaming Scrat did get changed a little bit recently, so it guarantees an explosion. So you can almost guarantee value out of it now.
Which is quite good. Guaranteeing an explosion, which is still quite some damage on a free unit, can give you a very big advantage. For
you see at the bottom, grab the bridge with it, took out those spear throws. Very nicely done.
There we go. Things stabilizing a little bit more now. It was quite interesting because that first push allowed Jackk to put some pressure, which made so that DeathShoot, even though he already had Demon Warrior in hand, he could not afford to play it because of the amount of units that Jackk had in his face. Because since Demon Warrior is, as you said, a card that goes well with cycling, you want to play it as soon as you get it, so you can cycle it more often and get the big Demon Warrior out as fast as you can. And if you are forced, if your opponent forces you to play another card, even though you can already play Demon Warrior, you are basically putting the time where you get a Demon Warrior out further and further ahead of time, which can be time enough for your opponent to overtake you.
Yeah, so remember the Screaming Scrat, the explosion damages friend and foe, so you need to use it carefully at times.
Ooh, a beautiful crystal blast.
Your end draws closer.
XP.
That's using a very good trick where he places the totem to tank the crossbow dudes and that way splitting the propeller spreads to kill them. Very well executed.
Very nice. So the chat was hugely in Deadshot's favour for expecting who's going to come out on top here. Let's see what's happening. We've got a little XP lead for Deadshot. He's trying to get that Demon Warrior out. His deck will be a lot stronger when that big Demon Warrior comes out.
Yep, and we can see that he's doing around 1 Demon Warrior per minute because we are 3 minutes and he played a 3-stack Demon Warrior. But it is to notice that usually when you are playing Demon Warrior, you should not be playing on XP, especially as that shoot is. Well, not very much actually, because it is a weakened unit. If we consider that Demon Warrior in her true state is that big Demon Warrior, the Demon Warrior he's playing now is weaker, so he should not be getting that much value and should be behind. And yet he's not.
That's right, that's not a good sign for Jackk. He's struggling already to control the game, and then Deadshot's deck's going to get considerably stronger. Now, Deadshot's deck is not one of the super cheap Demon Warriors we see, where the Demon Warrior comes out after about 3 minutes or so. It's a bit more balanced. It's not quite so weak. So he's not gone there as quickly as possible. As you can see, though, it's because of that he's been able to maintain the bridge control. The next Demon Warrior is going to be the big one.
He cannot take this damage. Ooh, that Screaming Threat just killing almost all of those spiritual.
There she is. Single target unit, the Demon Warrior, though, so it's not good against multiple little units. That's a good way to deal with it. But Jackk doesn't really have that many little units. They're all sort of medium-sized units that he doesn't really want to be taking hits on. Okay, it's great Scrutillery, though.
Yep, almost killing the assassin, putting that pressure on.
Perk 3 coming.
Off the Demon Warrior.
Okay, perk 3, what did he get? He got some spear throwers. So that's more bodies. They can be split to grab the bridge as well. So it's even more bridge control from Deadshot. He is low on HP, but he is control on the bridges. And of course he does have his shield for when things get scary.
Oh, that should just attempted to do something amazing, which is he knew Jackk was going to play Frost Feather Flyby to kill that sniper. So he played propellers on top of the sniper to try to make it the Frost Feather Flyby split and not kill the sniper. He managed to achieve that, however, they did not split enough in a way to protect and save the sniper, which was very unfortunate.
Yeah, that's just game knowledge, just paying attention to how your opponent is reacting to your units and then trying to affect that in a positive light. As you say, you can try to counter that. Here we go, the flyby coming in. Once the flyby's already been used, once it's coming in, you can't really stop it without a spell or something. But if you can kind of preemptively guess when it's going to come in and then throw your units down just as it's being spawned, then you can get a better turnaround. But here we go, Deadshot getting real close to face with this Demon Warrior. That's going to hit super hard.
One swing, almost 2 swings on face.
This could be enough though. Those scrats are not messing about. That's going to be it. Deadshot takes it.
Wow.
The Demon Warrior only got 1 hit on face, but with the supporting units with it, and of course the Demon Warrior, even if it's not doing face damage, it is a huge HP unit that takes ages to be dealt with. But wow, Deadshot taking it, pulled out the APEP Demon Warrior right at the end. We hadn't seen that at all throughout the whole tournament. But just see the power of the Demon Warrior in those relatively cheap cycle decks.
Very fun. And not only that should have propeller scrats on Jack's side of the field when he played the Scratillery. That means the scrats that spawned were hasted. So they were even attacking fast and dealing more damage. Maybe some damage that Jackk was not accounting for, which we could see by the fact that he just died and got killed by all those units that were around the Demon Warrior. Very, very powerful and coordinated attack that should manage to pull on that one.
Wow, we saw a lot of good games. Both players doing incredibly well. Very little to see between them in a lot of the games. Ultimately, then, their Deadshot just over the 2 best-of-5s, just a bit too good on the day for Jackk. But both players doing a great job, and they should be very proud of themselves. Deadshot taking the tournament, as he has done many times in the past. Of course, he won the previous GGToor Knights Duel event. I think I would like to mention that coming up on the 10th of April, there is going to be the next GGTour event with up to $1,000 prize pool. Or if we get 125 active participants in that, we can unlock that full prize pool. So that'll be exciting. So we'll put the link in the YouTube description. It's in the chat now if you want to check it out. It's on April the 10th. DeathShootOneyOoney is going to be there with me. We're going to have loads of other casters as well. It's going to be huge fun. A lot of good players. So if you want to check out the tournament, check out the rules, go register. Help support the scene. The link's available to you. It will be broadcast live here on this stream in the fish tank on the 10th, Saturday the 10th of April. So that'll be a good day, whether you're competing, whether you're spectating, whether you're doing a bit of both. Play your games, come hang out with us. Yes, the tourney's going to be here, Obi-Wan Kenobi, on this stream. Live, exclusively live, with a 60-second delay, to be fair. So that's one to look forward to. But yeah, just getting back to this event, Deadshot has ultimately come out as the victor. A lot of people probably would have put their money on him to start with, just based on his experience. But Jackk did a great job as well. DeathShootOneyOoney will be joining me on the casting team, so that'll be a lot of fun. Are you looking forward to that event, DeathShootOneyOoney?
Very much looking forward to that event. Watching if in just these few matches that we watched today, we managed to see this level of gameplay. I cannot even begin to imagine how good the matches are going to be there. And as I believe you also mentioned, the tournament is free, so anyone can join, anyone can partake in all the fun, in all these amazing matches. In fact, everyone can be inside those amazing matches, making those amazing plays. And we will definitely be there to watch that.
That's right, free to enter, good point. Hopefully we'll see Deadshot to defend his title there. Hopefully Jackk will be there and all the other top players that we see in and around the streams and the ladders and the tournaments. Big thanks to DeathShootOneyOoney for joining me on this cast. Thanks to chat for hanging out. I know it was a bit flaky with technology at some point, but it's a bit tricky setting up the dual tech with replays. But when we're watching the matches live, like we will be in the GGTour event, it's a lot more straightforward to get it all set up. But I had a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys had a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us, DeathShootOneyOoney. And I will see you guys soon on the next YouTube video or stream in the fish tank. But take care, guys, and I'll see you soon.